we're on again today. I am on my iPad, which means my computer is switched off. I'm in bed with the dog. Hello, Floss, she's here, and Gillian's with me. Hi, Gillian.
Hey, I'm not in bed with you and the dog.
No, you're not. You're all the way in Australia. And anyway, it's the wrong time of the day for you to be in bed, isn't it?
It's nearly bedtime, but not
Oh, I
quite.
suppose, yeah, you're 12 hours ahead, yeah. Well, Gillian, as we know, is mega intelligent, aren't you, Gillian?
I have flashes of intelligence here and there.
And what it is that you've been sending me stuff about, what about the bloodlines? I want you to talk about, today we're going to talk about the bloodline of women. Remember with Queen Victoria in it, that one. And
Yeah.
blood types in general, really.
Yeah, well, actually, geez, I watched this video. I've been watching them about who would be king of countries if they still had kings ruling. And then it went on to this other video about the longest reigning bloodline in females. And so he was saying that their bloodlines ran longer than the Hanover families, and there's a couple of big dynasty families.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked, really, but I suppose now we understand because you've been looking up the blood types, haven't you, about why they did it.
Well, yes, that's from another video that I watched today.
Yeah, video girl you are.
Yeah, still looking at it. But yeah, anyway, he said that if you look at the female line, this family had more kings and queens and rulers than the male heirs, and pretty much a lot of famous rulers are in this family line.
Yeah, we were. I watched it. Yeah, there was. It includes Queen Victoria as the female.
Oh, you had a quick look at it, did you?
Yes, I did, Gillian. I did. I told you earlier on. I did. It had Queen Victoria and her sister. But there's so many people in them. I can't remember all their names now. Maybe I'll try and find the link and put both the links in this video so people can see it.
It was the European monarchy that they were looking at, I think. Although they went everywhere, these guys.
So basically, what we're saying is when we're born, we take the father's name, and everybody's looking at the father's side. But actually, what they did was pick the mother's side, and all the women came from one bloodline, didn't they? That basically.
Yeah, or it's like when they became king, they wanted these females from this bloodline to be a part of their family. So they tried to marry, or I don't know, or maybe the women came from very strong bloodlines, and they just
and explain something about, like, because explain a bit about, like when we. I mean, I wouldn't do it myself. I would not marry my uncle. But all this incest thing, why did they do it, Gillian?
Well, I'm watching this new video, which that's why we've been looking at blood types and things. Saying that there's a suggestion that. All right, so it had to do with blood types not matching, and. So the first pregnancy usually takes, and then the second one they have problems with, and then there's the third, fourth, and fifth. And you're warned about it when you get pregnant, that if your blood types don't match, that your body might reject the baby. And it's quite common, but it's okay because we've got drugs for that now. And I never really thought much further of it. But it's not got to do with the blood type, it's got to do with the RH factor.
The RH.
Which is another antigen, like A and B. So if you're A positive, you've got A antigens in your blood, around your blood cell. If you're B positive, you've got B antigens around your positive. If you're AB positive, then you've got both of them. And then if you're AB positive and RH positive, you'll have another antigen in the RH factor. So you've got your four blood types, A, B, and O, and then you've got whether or not you're positive or negative for another antigen. And it seems that these antigens are part of your immune system to help fight viruses and bacteria and things, which must be why the pregnant women, if their RH is positive and their baby's is negative, then their body's going to try and reject it. Their immune system will reject it. And it's not so, it's handled really easily nowadays, but in the old days, they had no medication for it. So it turns out that if you do marry your cousin, then you're more likely to have the same blood type, and especially like positive or negative. And so you're less likely to have this rejection happen. So this video I was watching was throwing out the idea of if that's why they did incest, because it just stopped them from having this blood disorder problem. Complete opposite to what we've been told, and might explain why they still do it today. See, we're told not to do it because you'll have deformed babies, but they still do it. And then when you do the maths, apparently, they don't have a higher risk of deformed babies. And then when they do, if you check into their blood types, you'll find that one's positive and one's negative. So they might have
it's a bit strange that everything they tell us is a bunch of poo, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, so it's got nothing to do with, like, the O people are, like the Queen's O, so that they're more special. Their blood type can be used for blood transfusions to other blood types, but that's a different thing. It's not got to do with...
So, the two things that Gillian's taught me... Well, she's taught me a few things lately. A, Queen Victoria came from a line of women that got married off to become royal wives and mothers of royalty, and they wanted to use this bloodline. And two... I've just forgotten what number 2 is.
That incest might not have been...
Yes, that one. It was not about incest. It was about...
Well, yeah, and so perhaps it wasn't just about money, although that would have been good, keeping your family fortune together. It might have also been about the safety of not having deformed children, which completely goes against what we're told today. So,
do you know what? It's amazing, though, that they knew all that then, Gillian.
Well, that's the other thing. See, even Aboriginal people, like the native Australians, the first Australians, they know. I remember hearing stories, tragic stories of, two couples from different tribes falling in love and then not being allowed to marry because it was, different blood and whatever. They weren't really told why. They just weren't allowed to mix with this group of people, which meant, to me, that means that their ancestors must have known about the different blood types.
So Floss is trying to get in on the scene here, aren't you? Say high five, Floss. She's giving me a high five, but she's trying to take over she's trying to sit on the iPad. You're not doing it.
So maybe it wasn't so much to do with we're a superior race, and we're the A type. We're O blood type, and we're more special than you A types and B types. Maybe it was more to do with, oh my gosh, they've got negative antigens and we've got positive antigens, and if we
is that the haemophilia one? Because it did happen, didn't it? Remember, like, you've got the Tsar of Russia, his son was a haemophiliac, and so was a couple of 2 or 3 of Queen Victoria's children. So why were they using her bloodline if they're actually creating haemophiliacs? Which is not a good thing.
Well, that wasn't everybody. That was just a couple of people, and it probably came from whoever they partnered with, and then their two...
the gene thing comes from the haemophiliac comes from the woman. I remember reading that. It said it come from the woman. But it's really strange. And those were the 2 women that were married off into the royal family. So obviously, on paper, because we don't know if it's all real, do we, anymore? But the Tsar of Russia is related to Queen Victoria. And so it's still the same bloodline going to the Tsar of Russia. They're all family, aren't they? God.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the haemophiliac bit has in it, or whether that was I'm not sure what happened there, Gillian. I'm not sure if the dog touched my iPad. Did you do it, Floss? Or whether it just turned itself off. But we were talking about the haemophiliac side of things just then when we cut out.
Yeah. And I was just looking up evolution of blood types. This is what they think. Type A blood type, actually thought to be the most ancient of all. All our distant ancestors would have type A, and then type B and type O evolved later due to mutations in the genetic code. It's thought that the mutations that caused type B and O to come into existence actually helped the cells fight off certain diseases.
Yeah.
And the Rh is also an ancient as it has evolved from a molecule that can be found on Archaea, the most ancient life form on Earth. Must be some kind of crustacean.
Never heard of that one before.
So they're saying that they're thinking the different blood types came about due to us having to maybe deal with illnesses, disease, and therefore it must make a new antigen. And obviously, A and B antigens, whatever disease that was, is either the most prevalent disease we've ever fought or the most recent. I don't know, because it also said that, there's over 33 different blood types.
That is crazy, isn't it? 33 different blood types. Gillian's favourite number. Yeah. I'm not into numbers. I don't like the number game, but 33. Like, wow.
Well, I'm not really into numbers that much, but you do see a repeat of the same numbers. So,
yeah, it's always the same numbers.
That I didn't expect it to go 33 different blood. I've never heard that. I've never heard that there are any more than 4.
Yeah.
Or maybe a couple of really, really rare blood types, but
Yeah. So. Anything else you want to talk about, Gillian? I don't know. You did notice. I might do a video on it that when Biden was doing his papers, like he had to do his documents. Basically, he wasn't signing anything.
Yeah, the papers look blank.
They look blank.
And it's hard to tell whether or not they might not have shown up in the kind of light that was shining on them, or whether there was just simply nothing there. I don't know.
Well, it looked like he was signing his signature to nothing, but we might do that video. But anything else you want to say, Gillian?
No, that's about it.
So if we go to, I have to go to here and go and do a few things to get out of here. Gillian, it's always an absolute pleasure with you, my darling.
Thank you.
And Miss Intelligent here.
Oh, I don't know, just looking up different stuff. The more I learn, the less I realise I know. Like, I'm reading this stuff out, and I've never heard this before.
Well, you're doing quite... I mean, we're just going to the end here. I've got all my little end bit up here. But you basically are trying to find out more... Have been trying to find out more about yourself, haven't you, anyway, with your own... you've been having your files about what happened to you when you had a stroke. So you've been looking much more into yourself. So these things have become maybe a bit more interested to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Mr. Intelligent. At the end, Gillian's going to be a doctor.
I know, I just might be able to understand them when we talk. I've learned that half my medical reports about the words I'm looking up are just describing the machinery that they use to do the MRIs with CAT scans.
Sorry, Floss is licking herself if people hear that. She's always doing something, aren't you? You're a fidget dog.
That you have. It's just whether or not the machine spots it, and then they use different language for that. So, okay, so...
Yeah, that's very. I was really shocked about the bloodline of the women. That was quite good, Gillian. Thank you very much for that one. And even the blood types anyway, because I thought there was only a few blood types, and there isn't. There's 33. Anyway, Gillian. Carry on.
Oh, yep.
Carry on.
I was just going to say, I learned from going through my medical reports that like when you go and have one of those CT scans or MRIs, and they put fluid in your body, and they say it's a dye, and it's going to show up in the MRI scan because they want to see, if there's any blood veins blocked. Well, I learned that stuff that they put in you, the dye, is metallic.
Yeah, I know. You weren't very happy about that, were you?
No, and it's toxic, but they seem to think that they only use it in small amounts. So
And
okay.
it mostly flushes out of your body within 24 hours, sort of thing. I think mostly. Well, where's the other bits then?
Mostly, yeah. Does that add up and count? Like how
What,
many?
is there 20-30% that remains in your body?
Yeah.
And so if I'd seen you
most...
afterwards, I'd be going, look, Gillian, she's glowing. You just don't know, do you? You don't know what they've left inside you, do you? And it goes through your heart and your eyes, and I don't think that's very good for you, to be honest.
No, and they do tell you about it, and you agree to it, but they don't tell you that the dye is actually metal shavings.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
That when it oxidizes, it turns, into a solid fucking metal thing. Like, no.
Well, now we're learning, like chemotherapy is mustard gas. MRIs are metal shavings. It goes on. We're starting to learn what they're doing to us.
Yeah.
And they wonder, because this is what happens, you see, because I don't really want to talk too much about it, but injections, they mutate. And they're not telling us the truth. That's the sad bit. And so if they told us all that, if you had this big thing that said, well, if you take this, it's going to mutate and could turn into this, do you want it? You'd go, can I think about it? Whereas we're not really being shown that. So basically, we're just a big experiment for the.
And the metal shape, like that stuff in the MRIs might be fine, but they don't even tell you about it so that you can even learn about it.
Well, do you know something? I did it at the time, Gillian, but I didn't really have a choice. My son was really ill, and basically I was signing the piece of paper. Gillian, I was signing the piece of paper which said that if anything goes wrong in this operation and he dies, it's nothing to do with us. I signed that piece of paper. That's what they don't care about us.
That's what they do, yeah. I would have had the X-rays at the time anyway, but just a little more information would be good.
What happens is that now, if Gillian turns up at a hospital, it'd be, get out of the way, I want to see everything. Right, and they'll be able to read it all, Gillian. You'll be able to read it all and say, right, well, I know what's happened to me.
I had brain stroke. I had stroke, so I was never going to be capable of making that decision. But if we know all this beforehand, like years beforehand, like it's everyday knowledge kind of then that'd be different. But it's not. It's just... Doctors say it's okay, so it's okay. And experts say it's okay, so it's okay. So
it's okay if you take it. It's okay if you have it.
We're just going to call it dye, which makes it sound like it's a coloured fluid.
I have not been to the doctors since. I had to have this operation. I had to have my gallbladder out because it had stones in it, and there was stones in my body, and it was causing so much pain in my body. Because your body tries to get rid of the stones and it can't, so it just your body's in lots of pain. But when I had the operation, they did say, well, maybe what it is that we might have to actually open you up rather than keyhole surgery, because your organs, if you're in pain and you cannot get rid of the pain, your organs all come together to help. They're there. And I'm like, what? Anyway, luckily for me, none of my organs had done that, if you know what I mean. Had tried to help. Try to get the stone out, which they wouldn't be able to help do because it's stuck in a place they couldn't get to. But I haven't been to the hospital since then. That thing was so horrific to me. I spent a few days in absolute pain. They put because they wanted to get any bile out, or not bile, a pus or anything. They put this tube inside me, and I remember saying, I just can't breathe. I said to this girl, I said, where's the tube? She said, it's under your lung. And it's in 7 inches. No wonder I couldn't breathe. So the whole thing was just, everything about it was horrible. But it's done now, and I've never been back to the hospital since. I just don't like them.
That our bodies are alive is amazing. Because, you think of a machine with a car, and it's got all those bits in there, and they all work together. But if something goes wrong, there's not something usually turning up to fix it. But in our body, there is. You know, like these antigens turn up and all sorts of things turn up to sort of heal an injured area. Like you said, you know, there are other organs who are going to help that organ try and push out these stuff. How do they? This is not their normal job, but all of a sudden they've decided, oh, a fellow mate, fellow organ's in trouble.
Well, don't forget, we've learned as well that your stomach is another brain. That is your brain, really, is your stomach. Your brain is only the thinking part of the brain. The brain is your stomach. It's how your stomach feels. Your stomach goes, oh, I don't like this food, or I don't like... It's your stomach. With the stress, it's your stomach.
Well, your stomach actually sends out neurons. So like your brain, it sends out fibers, like invisible strings, out from your stomach into your body. And so it connects to your nervous system all throughout your body. And it depends on whether you've got good bacteria or bad bacteria that's feeding these nerve systems.
So that's why it's really important that you give your body good food, isn't it? Because your stomach is your brain.
Well, these bacteria in your stomach can decide whether you're going to be fat or thin. They decide whether they can decide a few different things. It's amazing. It decides your mood, whether or not you're happy or sad. It can affect, maybe not decides, let's say affect. And so it's kind of like, wow, what are we? Are we actually the person up?
Do you know what we are? We're to me, I think we're some kind of
controlling the stomach. Like what?
We're some kind of drone or something. We've got plasma as blood. I mean, when you add it all up, I'm like, what?
But the thing is, if you don't have this bacteria in your stomach, you'll get sick. So you have to have these bacteria in your stomach where you have no immune system at all. You'll get sick very quickly to everything.
I wonder what stress does, though, if you're living in stress, because that's what they want us doing, is living in stress. That can't be good for our body.
So the example they used was, and you also get good and bad bacteria from your environment. It's not just from what you eat, but from what you touch. And so their example was that when a mother has a vaginal birth, the baby will get her bacteria. You'll get brown in her bacteria. But when you do a cesarean, the first thing it touches is the doctor's hands or the nurses. So they'll pick up the bacteria from those people. It's different, and then your immune system just functions completely differently because you've got this base.
What, right from birth?
Yeah.
Because I was born a month early, and I spent a month in an incubator. And in those days, it was like, oh, it's very touch and go whether she'll survive, because we're talking of the 1960s here.
Well, a dose of antibiotics will wipe out all the bacteria in your stomach, so you start from scratch again. So there'll be several times over your life where you've wiped out your bacteria and start again. And then it depends on which ones you feed. Depends on what food you eat.
We cut off there for a moment, but carry on.
But it just shows that what you eat, you can use what you eat to change the bacteria in your stomach, and it will change the way you function and think. It will affect your moods. So
what happened for us all to wake up then? What happened to us for us all to wake up, Julian? Because we're changing our thoughts. I mean, it's quite a drastic change, isn't it? You're believing in a totally different system. It's totally different. It just like blows your mind.
Yeah, but I guess if you're still eating crappy, you might still feel really down and lethargic and depressed. And so if you start eating better foods, it will create better bacteria, and you'll get more of that bacteria in your stomach, and that will be the bacteria that helps to make you feel good. It then talks to your brain and tells it to release certain chemicals so that you feel happy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is probably what they're doing to us. They already know this stuff, and this is what they're doing in part of their games.
Well, they want to give us medicine. They want to sell us something that they can make money off. And us going for a walk or eating healthy, it's not a lot of money in food. I mean, there can be, but...
Yeah.
people that own
Well,
cafes
Gillian,
don't
I've
make
really enjoyed again our little talk today, because obviously me and Gillian talked about this before we recorded it. I just thought, hey, shall we record this? Because it was a good talk. But I do appreciate
sometimes
your cleverness, Gillian. Miss Clever!
my favourite crap sometimes. Sometimes I'm just talking.
No,
And
Gillian!
just repeating stuff.
Gillian has brought some amazing hangouts to our house, and then we end up having a hangout about what she's brought to our house, brought to the table. Don't we, Gillian?
Cool.
And any rumbling noises going on, that's not me, because Floss is lying right next to my iPad. So if there was any sighing or yawning or anything like that, it wasn't me, it was the dog.
Oh, it's hot here, so I had my fan on.
You can't hear it, but if it does come through, because the iPad, when you're videoing it like now I am, it's an open thing. So Gillian's on my phone, I'm talking, and the iPad's on. It picks up most things, but if it does pick up Floss and all this moaning and groaning, it's her. But Gillian, I do very much appreciate you coming on and talking. We'll go back now, because we went there and then you started talking more. So and then the thing shut off again. So we've come back to this. Not that one. We don't want that. We're back to here. Where are we? We want screen camera. Can't see. There it is. That one there. Gillian, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
My darling. Mwah, mwah, mwah.